Hello and welcome to Mindful Living, where we explore the art of living with the intention, balance, and inner peace. I am Avik, your host, guiding you through conversations on health, meditation, mental well being, mindfulness, and the mind body connection. Each episode features expert insights to help you grow, heal, and thrive. So, take a deep breath, relax, and join us on this journey to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So, let's get started.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Mindful Living Podcast with your host, Sana. Today, we are diving into a topic that is as urgent as it is transformative: the mental health and recovery journey of teens. And who better to guide us through this conversation than Austin Davis, a true pioneer in teenage behavioral health and addiction treatment? Now, listeners, with over 15 years of hands on experience and a passion for blending clinical expertise with faith, Austin has dedicated his life to helping teens and their families navigate the toughest battles. From founding Clear Folk Academy, the premier treatment center in Texas, to shaping industry conversations nationwide, Austin's insights are a beacon of hope for anyone looking to better understand the teenage mind. Oh, and when he's not saving lives, listeners, he's strumming his guitar, enjoying the great outdoors, and spending quality time with his wife and three kids. So get ready to explore the crossroads of mindfulness, faith, and the power of community in healing young lives. So let's quickly get started. Austin, welcome to the show, and it is an absolute honor to have you today with us, sir.
Sana, thank you so much. Wonderful introduction. I appreciate that.
Great, great. So, Austin, before we explore about the topic, would you like to share a bit about your personal journey? What motivated you to focus on this crucial problem, crucial issue?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I really thought I was going to go to the Air Force and be a chemical engineer. That's the way the way my path. I had started at 15 or 16, but then there was a sort of a faith conversion moment, and all of that just changed directions, and so I thought I was going to work in the local church with kids, and so went to a 4 year school for pastoral ministries, and then went to a seminary. In the midst of all of that, I was working with teenagers in the local church, and when crisis happened, we weren't exegeting things out of Romans in the Bible and talking theology. I was sitting on the curb or in somebody's kitchen, and I was asking questions as a therapist. And so I, went back and got a master's in counseling, and that just fueled my clinical journey. Started working in psych hospitals, and eventually ended up in inpatient treatment as a clinical director, as a therapist, working with adults. And, as I started working with adults, this theme just continued to resonate of, 30, 40, and 50-year-old men. When we're doing treatment, they start talking about their 12, 13, 14-year-old selves. And that's when the light bulb hit, was like, man, can I intervene on these folks' lives, 25, 30 years in advance, or before, they have kids and families and businesses and all of that stuff. And so that's really where that passion began. And it's just kind of flourished over the last 7 or 8 years to be able to do what we do here at Clear Fork.
Wow, what a journey. What an interesting journey, Austin. And thank you so much for sharing this with all of us. So now,
Absolutely.
coming on to the topic, teen mental health issues are on the rise, especially during pandemic, post pandemic, with the advent of social media. What are some early signs parents and educators can look out for to intervene before even the problems escalate?
Yeah, I think community or social isolation, right? Like I think the crux of our mental health issues are really due to a breakdown in community. When I'm 42 years old, and so I didn't grow up with a phone in my hand or an iPad or really even a computer. We went outside and we played, and we rode bicycles, and Nintendo was an afterthought when it was dark outside, and so I think really the litmus test for us, or um, what we begin to look for, is do our kids have genuine community? Are they sitting across from their peers, looking at them in the eye without a device in the way, and are they connecting, right? And so when I think when people are able to do that, um, the mental health symptoms are significantly reduced because we have relationships. And so I think that's the first thing to look at. And then after that, right, there's the myriad of symptoms in terms of anxiety and depression and substance use and suicidal ideations. And so all of those have their specific um, kind of key features or whatever. So symptoms
Hmm.
that you can look at after that. But I think the number one thing would be that community. Does somebody have community? And if they don't, then those other things are going to start to blossom.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. So, Clear Folk Academy's approach to healing, it combines clinical methods with faith. So, can you share how this unique blend impacts the recovery process for teens?
Yeah. So for 50 years or so, Alcoholics Anonymous has kind of done that and sort of proven this idea that there is a God, there is a higher power, there is something greater than thyself that can restore me to sanity. And so, we've kind of done that, and so we like to call ourselves relational as a youth camp and clinical as a hospital. And so the blending of those two, we kind of use them as we call them core values or really core behaviors. And so our implementation of faith or kind of Western Christianity is through our core values, and we have 7 of them. The first one is honor, and really it's like, wait, honor God, self, and others, right? And what does that mean? Is kind of we do the right thing. It's I can get in a fight, I can punch somebody, or I could not. Second one is unity. We know that we win by working together, and that the success of me is really dependent on everyone else around me. We talk about sacrifice, and it takes going the extra mile to be successful in our lives. We can't just do the shortcuts and get what we want. We talk about transparency. We want to build trust with our words, and we have to be able to communicate effectively, be transparent about what's going on in our lives. We talk about excellence, and how do we live above just the mundane. We want to do that. We want to build legacy. And legacy means looking at our actions and kind of building a foundation for subsequent levels of growth. And if we can't build that today, then there's not much of a growth in front of us. And then lastly, we want to have fun. We want to enjoy the process every single day. Faith doesn't have to be stodgy or dull or whatever. It's fun, it's active, it's engaging, and no matter the circumstance, we can choose to enjoy that process. And so we kind of live those things out with our kids, our families, and our staff.
True. That's true. That makes sense. And also, in your 15 years of experience, what have been the most significant shifts in how society views teen addiction and behavioral health?
Well, I think we saw in 2020. So we started in 2016, and everyone told me I was crazy. There's not a market. Don't work with teenagers. They're crazy. There's too much risk. And so I saw the need and jumped into it. Um, while everybody else was working with adults in different demographic, and we saw that significantly change in 2020. Right, we had a kind of worldwide event happen, and everybody goes, okay, wait a minute, this might be an actual issue. Not just with substance use, but true mental health, and the isolation that kind of exploded or expanded the symptoms of our kids with mental health. So I think that was just the biggest transition, just worldwide of this acknowledgement.
True. Okay, and faith plays a vital role in your work, Austin. How do you navigate incorporating faith while also respecting the diverse beliefs of teens and their families?
That's a great question, and every family asks coming in. And that, the essence of that question, and it all begins with relationship. I'm a clinician. We have teams of clinicians, and kind of that rule of thumb is do no harm, and that's what we lead with. And so I want to build a relationship with a kid every single day. I want to know what their hobbies are, what their hurts and hangups are, all of those things before we start talking about probably the most intimate thing anyone can talk about, right? And that's sort of their faith or that existential question of who am I and what's this world all about? And that's really how we approach it. And it's not a one size fits all. We all kind of have our own individual recipe, if you will, of what God looks like and what faith looks like. And so we just try to meet our kids where they are and navigate alongside of them every single day.
Yeah, that makes sense. And on the flip side, some would argue that faith based approaches can alienate individuals from non religious backgrounds. So, how do you respond to critics who say that faith does not belong in mental health treatment?
Well, I think first off, like we're not a faith-based approach; we're a clinical-based approach, and so it seems paradoxical to have the two in one phrase or sentence, but they sit alongside of one another to me, because if I think every one of us wake up each day and ask the question, whether we say it out loud or not, who am I? And the answer to that question dictates what we do. Just for example, I tell myself pretty much every day that I'm an athlete. I grew up playing two or three sports, and at 5:30 when the alarm clock gets up, wakes me up, I prepare myself to go work out because I want to be healthy. And so that belief of who I am kind of helps me or dictates what I do in terms of my health. If I say I'm a father, then I'm going to parent my three kids. So answering that question sometimes dictates or assumes there's a power greater than myself out there helping answer that question for me. So I think the two have to be intertwined at some point. Can you do one without the other? Absolutely. But I think at the end of the day, most of us would agree there's this essence of mind, body, and spirit that presents themselves in the counseling room every day.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Austin. And talking about community, what role do you see community support playing in long-term recovery for teens, since it's a big part of Clear Folk Academy's model?
Well, I think it's essential. It just is. And again, I'll just use my life. Like I'm a business owner, entrepreneur, and so I have a community of business owners and entrepreneurs around me. I'm a faith person, and so I have a group of men who are faith-driven people. Again, I'm an athlete, so I hang out with athletes, and so like our success as an individual is closely tied to the people we surround ourselves with. And so kids, teenagers need other kids and teenagers with like-minded. They need parents and families need families who know and understand what recovery looks like and mental health looks like, and not be ashamed to explore those questions and those fears, all those sort of things. And so I think if you plotted it out on a graph, they rise and fall together on how well community is applied to a person's life.
Hmm. Great. So before we wrap up, while your approach emphasizes the power of faith and community, there's also, as you said, it's not completely faith, but it's more of a clinical approach. So purely clinical or scientific method, obviously others would advocate for that. So do you believe your model is universally effective, or are there any limits to its applications?
That's a great question. Um, I would say it's universally acceptable and applicable, and because and I wrote our curriculum, and we kind of have this three-legged stool kind of like model. So there's three pillars. One is our core values, what we talked about, and those are kind of the lens by which we see our community and our milieu, and kind of just humanity in general. And then right next to that, the next pillar is clinical interventions. And we use those clinical interventions as best practices. And hold on, did I lose you? Do you still have me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Sorry. We use those clinical interventions that are best practice. And so we're using cognitive behavioral therapy and narrative therapy and family systems.
Mhm.
And then at the core, at the root of what we do is just basic life skills, teaching kids how to communicate effectively, teaching them conflict resolution and coping skills and stress management. And so with those three pillars tied together, I think whether it's mental health, substance use, finance, like our curriculum can be widely applied.
Hmm. Yeah. Great, Austin. And if you could give one piece of advice to a parent struggling to connect with their teen, or, a parent who is just, planning for this during a mental health crisis, what would it be?
My pitch to families is it's never too early to start planning. Like, so don't wait. Move forward, engage, ask questions, read a book, talk to another family, but just gather the information and sit across from your kid. Like, sit across from them at the dinner table and like enjoy one another. In community and connection.
Definitely. And I also believe parents can be a great example for their children, right? From childhood, because those years spent during childhood, they're so impressionable, and that can build a very strong foundation in the teenage years as well. So that's a great advice, and great conversation, Austin. We all appreciate what you are doing, and it's because teens are the future of any country, of the entire world, the
Yes.
uh, the generation. So This was really an incredible and insightful conversation with you today. And if our listeners they want to explore more about your work at Clear Fork Academy and what it is doing to help teens out there, how they can do that.
Yeah, clearforkacademy.com. That's kind of got all of our resources. The number on the website rings to our team. It's pretty easy to find us.
Lovely. We'll anyway mention all the details in the show notes for our listeners. And thank you so much, Austin, for taking us on this journey of mindfulness and transformation and helping us to understand how we as a community can support teens and families as well and each other. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Sana, thank you so much.
So, listeners, that's a wrap on today's conversation on the Mindful Living podcast. From Austin's powerful faith and clinical based approach to the nuanced ways Clear Fork Academy is supporting teens and families, it is clear that his work is making a profound impact on countless lives. So, thank you for joining us on this journey of mindfulness. And if you would like to learn more about Austin's work or connect with Clear Fork Academy, you can refer the links in the show notes. And hey, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a review if today's conversation resonated with you. Until next time, this is Sana reminding you to stay mindful, stay compassionate, and keep growing. See you in the next episode on the Mindful Living podcast. Thank you.